Hellzchild. I wrote a Shadow Priest guide back in Warlords of Draenor. Said a lot of people had said it helped them out, so I wanted to do another one. So the first thing I want to go over here are a few changes to Shadow Priest as of 7.1.5. That's going to be Void Bolt. Your Void Bolt now refreshes dots on all targets within the range instead of just the target that Void Bolt hits. And Mind Seer, there's no more Mind Seer. It's been made just Mind Flay now. So now, whenever you have a group of targets and you have them all dotted, you're going to cast Mind Flay, and your Mind Flay is going to cause ticks on all of the targets affected by your dots. Instead of having two different channeled spells, it's just combined into one now. Now we'll go over talents. So the top choice for tier 15 talent in PvE is still Twist of Fate. Fortress of Mind got a buff. It's pretty good for single target, but overall DPS, Twist of Fate still over damages Fortress of the Mind. For tier 13, I personally run with Body and Soul. Everybody else has different things, but that's what I use. 45 PvE, you want to go with Mind Bomb for extra crowd control. And tier 60 talent, you want to go with Lingering Insanity. So when your Void Form ends, your haste bonus fades by 2% every second instead of ending immediately. And that's better than Reaper of Souls now, because we use Legacy of the Void instead of Surrender to Madness, so you don't really need the early Shadow Word Death, and the overall DPS from the haste bonus will be better. 75 talent, there are two viable options here. You can either use Sandland or you can use Auspicious Spirits. I like to run Sandland. It increases your damage of your Vampiric Touch by 20% and your healing of Embrace by 20%. Compared to Auspicious Spirits, it's more of a multi-target damage dealing thing, but overall I still have found I prefer Sandland's DPS better. And then for the 90 talent, Power Infusion is still going to be the #1 choice, with the extra cooldown to increase your haste by 25% and your insanity generation by 25%. And then last, Legacy of the Void now is better damage than Surrender to Madness on fights over 200 seconds. Any fights that are under 200 seconds, Surrender to Madness is still a viable option, but I still prefer to run with Legacy of the Void. And stat priority. So the stat priority for the Legacy of the Void and pretty much the setup that you see here is going to be haste at 12k, crit at 4k, and then everything else dumped into mastery. And how you're going to want to work the rotation for this: on your build phase, you want to keep your dots up on all targets at all times, casting Mind Flay as your filler and Mind Blast on cooldown until you build up enough insanity to enter Void Form. Before entering Void Form, I suggest refreshing your dots if they haven't been, and then as soon as you enter Void Form, you're going to cast Void Torrent, Void Bolt, then Mind Blast, and then you'll use your Mind Flay as your filler, just as in the build phase. You can also pop your Shadow Fiend and your Power Infusion to help you stay in Void Form longer, especially when the target is not in execute range. The Shadow Fiend and the Power Infusion really help out a lot. Once you get into the execute range, Shadow Word Death is going to help out a lot. You never want to cast both charges of Shadow Word Death at the same time. you want to split them up unless you're going to fall out of void form. Then you can cast both at the same time, but the rotation is still the same. You just have Shadow Word Death, so you'll be using Mind Flay less. And for add-ons, I use Elvui as my UI, and then for PvP I use, let me just pull up my list. Alright, so let's get into the PvP side of stuff now. So for PvP, you're going to want to run Twist of Fate mainly, especially for RPGs. I've been using Fortress of Mind a little bit in arenas and stuff. Helps with focusing down targets, but overall Twist of Fate for long fights is going to be better. Body and Soul is what I choose for my speed buff. Psychic Voice, Instant Cast Fear for healers, to peel people off you, peel people off your healers. It's very helpful. Reaper of Souls. Reaper of Souls is going to be, I think, the best choice for especially arenas and probably RPGs as well, because you're able to start using your Shadow Word Death sooner to focus down targets. Lingering Insanity would be viable in RPGs as well for longer team fight stuff. Arenas, I don't see very much use for it. Sandland is going to be the best choice for the 75 tier talent, because not only are you going to get the Vampiric Touch damage increase by 20, you're going to get the extra healing by 20%, boost up your survivability a little bit. And for the 90 talent, you're going to want to go with Misery, because it saves you a little bit of time of having to cast both dots. You can just cast Void Touch on all of the enemy players, and then they will have both your dots instead of going and casting your dots separately. The damage increase from that is going to help out over Power Infusion. And then the 100 talent, Legacy of the Void, that's going to be the pretty much one and only choice for this, RPGs and arenas. So pretty much there's no set rotation. What you're going to want to do is dot as many targets as you can, try to get into Insanity, and use your Void form to focus down targets. Use your Void Bolt to refresh your dots, so you're not refreshing your dots as often. But the main priority is keeping dots on all enemy players at all times, making it harder for the healers to keep up with the damage. As far as cooldowns, Vampiric Embrace, when you're taking a lot of AoE damage or you're having someone focus you down, this helps out a lot, especially with Sandland. It helps get you at least stable so a healer can top you off. Dispersion, I found this best used around 30 or 40%, and then you're able to get away and heal yourself, or you can use it to, if another class is popping his cooldowns on you to try to burn you down, you can use it to soak those cooldowns and run. And Psyfiend is a very good spell, especially for games like flag carries and stuff like that. You can use it to slow down your enemy flag carrier, or if somebody is focusing you, you can cast Psyfiend and you can use Power Word Shield and the speed buff to get away from them. So, and that's found in the Honor talents, which is what we're going to go over next. For the Honor talents, The choices here would be Relentless and Gladiator's Medallion. I use Relentless because you're going to be able to reduce the incoming crowd control effects by 20%. Unlike Gladiator Medallion, you can only use it once every 2 minutes, so I find Relentless a little bit more helpful. And for the second tier, I use Mind Quickness. It's going to be a better overall damage boost than any of the other ones. For the third, I use Fleeting Embrace. That gives your Vampiric Embrace, lets you heal 3 additional allies, and its cooldown is reduced by 50%. So that means more healing, more often, helps your healers out a lot, helps you stay alive. So I think that's the best choice there. The fourth talent tree is going to be Void Origins, and that allows your Void Eruption to be insta-cast. This is real helpful because you can, for one, cast it instantly, enter Void form instantly, and start doing more damage, and you don't have to sit there and wait for a normal 1.2 second cast. 1.6 second cast, sorry. It'll be instant, and you can start continuing with heavy damage to focus targets down faster. For the fifth, I use Shadow Mania, and that is having Vampiric Touch on 2 or more targets grant you 3 insanity every 2 seconds and increase the healing of Vampiric Touch by 50. Yet again, another healing boost and more insanity regeneration to keep you in void form longer. I find this to be very useful for survivability and damage wise. The last choice, in my opinion, the only viable option is Psyfiend, because it summons a Psyfiend with 10 health for 12 seconds that allows you to slow a target by 50% and deals 2% of their damage. So like I said, that's good for flag carriers or peeling melee off of you, stuff of that sort. Now for keybinds, one keybind I wanted to share with y'all. I'll have it linked below in my comments, but I think it's very helpful and useful, is a Vampiric Touch Mouseover and a Shadow Word Pain Mouseover. I have a 5-button mouse, so that allows me to have my other 2 buttons as my dots, so I can just scroll my mouse over and cast dots. I don't have to worry about switching targets. And the Mouseover is going to go like this: hashtag show tooltip Vampiric Touch, next line /cast bracket at Mouseover, comma, harm, comma, nodead, close bracket, open bracket, close bracket, Vampiric Touch. And that will be the same for Shadow Word Pain, but instead of putting Vampiric Touch in there, you will put Shadow Word Pain. This is a very helpful macro that I found, and it helps me all the time. Well, that concludes my 7.1.5 Shadow Priest tutorial. Please follow me on Twitch, subscribe to me on YouTube, and leave any comments.